Good evening, and thank you for joining us on this Thursday night. Tonight, even with Russia stalling in its invasion of Ukraine, the brutality of Russian forces has shocked the world. The Secretary of State with an ominous message today, warning that Vladimir Putin is growing more and more desperate and could be preparing to use chemical weapons. On top of the growing death toll, the destruction in Ukraine is vast. A United Nations report just out details more than $100 billion worth of infrastructure has been destroyed in the first 3 weeks of the war. And we learned an American citizen is among the deaths tonight. Jim Hill from Diggs, Idaho, was killed while he was waiting in a bread line in Chernihiv. Here in Washington, the big news is that President Biden will speak with China's President Xi tomorrow. The president planning to warn the Chinese leader that his country will bear responsibility if they support Russia's aggression and face, quote, significant costs. We've got a lot of news to get to tonight, but first let's go to Ukraine and CBS's Chris Livesay in the city of Odessa. Good evening, Chris.
I've lost the signal. Good evening, Nora. Russian forces have launched more than 1,000 missiles since the start of the invasion, according to senior defense officials in the U.S., as ground forces continue to push towards Kyiv. Meanwhile, as Russia continues to launch strikes across the country, there are new signs of Ukraine holding its ground.
In an already barbaric war, it was a new low, bombing a theater in Mariupol where hundreds were taking shelter, despite the word children clearly posted outside. But tonight, rescuers report many of them have astoundingly survived. Some 30,000 residents have managed to flee the besieged city, but more than 300,000 remain trapped amid pitched battles. According to U.S. intelligence, since the start of the invasion 3 weeks ago, more than 7,000 Russian troops have been killed. A dozen of them are here, a refrigerated rail car in Voznesensk. Some still teenagers. Perhaps, like so many, they didn't even know they were going off to war. The Russian military won't even acknowledge they exist, says this scout, codenamed Ghost. Russia is treating their own soldiers like meat, leaving them to rot, he says. When they came to Voznesensk, the Russians were armed to the teeth with heavy artillery and helicopters, occupying and looting these homes across the river. Local Ukrainian fighters were outnumbered and outgunned, but not outsmarted.
So just on the other side of this bridge, a Russian tank was pointing its cannon directly at the town. But in an act of self-sacrifice, the military blew up the bridge to keep them from crossing.
The mayor walks me through the landmines. If the tanks had gotten past this point, he says, they could have captured yet another nuclear power plant or cut off Ukraine's biggest naval port, Odessa, were it not for their brave military and even the most unlikely of volunteers, like 66-year-old Sushenko Nikolai Semyenovich, a retired minesweeper in the Soviet army.
What did you do when the Russians were attacking?
I jumped out and shot with my own rifle, he says. My heart simply could not handle sitting in the basement. These Russians don't give up. We will kill them all. I can't take it anymore.
And we've seen that same tenacity hold off Russian forces here in Odessa on the Black Sea coast. Now, Russian warships have fired missiles on nearby villages, but the Pentagon said today there are no signs of an imminent amphibious attack. Nora?
Tenacious is a good word for the Ukrainian people. Chris Livesay, thank you.